Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about how to create a twisted Tunisian decrease. This is just like a regular decrease. You can look at that in my decrease video. The only difference is that the slant that is created is in the opposite direction. The slant created in a twisted decrease will be towards your crocheting hand instead of the other side, which happens in a regular decrease. So I have this Tunisian simple stitch swatch and I'm going to do a twisted decrease. So I'm going to make a few simple stitches and here, so I'm going to decrease now. So I'm going to pick the next two stitches, the vertical bars of the next two stitches, so this and this here. So these two, I'm going to pick them, but I'm going to pick them in the opposite direction. So instead of inserting my hook like this, I'm going to insert it from the other side and pick both of these. So I'm going to take one. I use my hook to do this. I use this part of the hook. So I pick one and then I pick the second one, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through both. So you can see that I was able to make a decrease, went from 2 stitches to 1, and if you notice the slant is towards your crocheting hand, as opposed to if you make it a regular decrease that would slant away from your crocheting hand. So this looks slightly hard to do. It does take some practice to make, but you have to make sure that your stitches, the forward pass stitches, are loose enough for you to be able to pick up 2 vertical bars in the opposite direction at once. So if you have tight stitches, this will become really hard and you will wrestle with your project throughout wherever you need to make that decrease. So I'm going to now continue making simple stitches till the end. I'm going to now make the last stitch and make the reverse pass like always. Chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. So this is how it looks. You can combine this with other stitches, with increases and other decreases to make beautiful patterns. I have a couple of patterns like that on my blog, and you can also find a description, a link to it in the description. So feel free to check them out. This is the Tunisian simple stitch. Is it's a single stitch, which the stitch itself is just it's one stitch makes the entire stitch, unlike say a rib stitch where you have a combination of 2 stitches that make up the stitch. So to decrease a rib stitch, you would actually have to decrease twice. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit. I'm going to make a couple of rib stitches, a couple of rows of rib stitches, and show you how to do a twisted decrease to decrease a rib stitch. I made a few rows of rib stitches in my swatch to show you how to do a decrease of a rib stitch. If you are unaware of how to make the rib stitch, I have a separate tutorial for that. You can find a link to it in the description below. So a rib stitch by definition is a combination of 2 stitches. So to decrease a rib stitch, you'd have to decrease twice. So this happens over 2 rows. So I'm going to make a couple of rib stitches. So that's 1. Well, I'll make 3. 2 and 3, and I'm going to do a twisted decrease on the next one. So I'm going to pick the next 2 vertical bars, so this one and this one, and I'm going to pick them in the opposite direction. So I'm going to use my hook and insert. So I've picked up the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through both. That way I have made a twisted decrease, so you can see that the slant is towards your crocheting hand. And then I'm going to continue making the rest of the row. And then the reverse pass. So this is how it looks after the first decrease, twisted decrease. The slant is towards your crocheting hand, and if you see that there is one lone stitch over here, so we can't make a rib stitch on top of that, so we'd have to decrease once more to be able to make a full rib stitch decrease. So I'm going to start making my rib stitches again to the point where we had made our decrease. Actually one stitch before we made our decrease. So this is where we made our decrease, so I'm going to make the first of the rib stitch, the first part, but now we're going to do a decrease again. So I'm going to continue from where we did the decrease last time. I'm going to pick that and this one, so both of these together in the opposite direction, and yarn over, pull through. So there's another decrease and rib stitch. Just continue making the row as you would. Last stitch, yarn over, pull, chain, yarn over, pull through 2 all the way till the end. This way I have made 2 decreases. Now I have enough just the right number of stitches to be able to continue making my rib stitches. So you can use these 2 stitches here to make a rib stitch, and that will sort of align with this. And you can just continue making rib stitches on top of this. So if you see, the slant is towards your crocheting hand, and if you look at the back, the reverse side, it's fairly neat here. It's hard to make out where the decreases happened, and it makes for a pretty neat fabric at the back as well. Here is a small swatch to show you how the 2 different decreases look together. So this is the regular decrease, which makes a slant away from your crocheting hand, and here is the twisted decrease that makes a slant towards your crocheting hand. So as you see that both of these, so I've made 3 rows of decreases and twisted decreases, and you can see this nice V that formed here. You can use these decreases along with a combination of increases to make beautiful patterns. If you're interested in one, you can check out my Vajra scarf.